Last time on Dragon Ball Z.
Wait. What?
That fucking sucked! What the hell? Beer, what the fuck? That was fucking terrible! What the fuck? Jesus Christ, that was worse than my unboosted regular damage. Okay, beer goes directly into the garbage bin, apparently. Back to our heroes in today's episode of Dragon Ball Z! So, let's talk about Beer. There's been a lot of lead up to him and a lot of people have been very excited. So, is he the strongest, most best food soul of all time? Or is he trash? The answer may surprise you and may be a little bit more complicated than we were initially led to believe. So one of the reasons I'm not really so excited for spoilers in this game is that a lot of times they're not actually correct. So everyone's been talking about how Beer is gonna multiply your damage twofold for Guild Boss. Best thing of all time. But what most people never really talked about is that how he does this is through his skill Hops and Dreams, very cute by the way. Beer throws away his pitcher, increasing all team members' attack speed by 30.8% and attack speed by the same 30.8% at level 22, increases 1.4% every level, while also silencing all team members for 3 seconds. So, no basic skills for you. Now, no energy skills either. Now that's kind of a problem. And real quick, we can talk about his other skill, which is basically completely irrelevant. He does, crowd control damage, little extra damage, charms all enemies for 5 seconds. That's pretty good. The problem is, any situation in which you would want to use this, you're going to be needing foie gras and peking duck. And with maxed out resolute fallen angels on duck and foie, you're going to be permanently silencing the bosses in catacombs anyway. So Beer has no real use in catacombs. Get ready to hear the phrase, Beer is not useful in a lot. So, he's only really useful for his basic skill. His stats are not really particularly great. If you want to build him, you want a Resolute Uma enhanced Uma, or you want Resolute Tsuchi. Resolute Fallen Angels don't work the way the other ones do. The favorite bonus, for some reason, is different for for attack speed, Resolute only. For those, you always want Tsuchigumo and Ukimochi enhanced. Yes, hi honey. So only ever build those for Resolute. The favorite bonus is never enough to overcome it. The problem with Beer, pretty obvious, is that silence. How serious is it really though? Blue, aka Rev D in game, put together this big ol' Beer review document here. So there'll be a link to that in description. If you want a little bit more in-depth than a video review will provide, go ahead and read that. It's got a lot of great info. Big thanks to Blue for just a lot of information in the game in general, in addition to this, obviously. Blue has great Fallen Angels and does a lot of the mathy stuff that I personally loathe doing myself, so that's been a great asset. But let's get into where you would want to use Beer. So, Beer's not good for crowd control because the silence prevents other people from doing their basics, and really Peking Duck and Foie really have that down on lock. You pretty much don't need anyone else in terms of crowd control, and Beer in fact prevents them from doing their job. So, not good for catacombs. Pretty much wouldn't suggest him for Showdown. Not that Showdown is really a problem. You can just choose to fight somebody that you can win against. It's not food souls are almost irrelevant for Showdown, honestly. But yeah, I would not particularly recommend him for that. Guild Boss, he would almost certainly get you killed because you would just take massive amounts of damage. You would be silenced at the wrong time. Adding more silence to the Guild Boss just sounds like the worst idea ever. So obviously, Tap, what about Disaster Boss? He's all about Disaster Boss. Well, as you might have seen from the clip at the beginning of the video, it doesn't actually work in Aluna. So Beer's problem is that the silence just completely murders you if there is debuffs. There's some math in Blue's review of Beer, and he basically allows you to use less attack speed lines on what you would usually use. So you can add even more attack and you can just spam crazy amounts of damage to the point where you can just completely skip the... you're actually doing more damage with certain food souls if you skip their basic attacks, because they're doing, you know, the attacks slow them down. So the silence actually helps there. But Aluna's debuff is extremely strong. I've heard 30% debuff, but that honestly seems way too low, because as soon as I started using Lava Kongi, I did twice as much damage. So maybe there's some kind of exponential scaling at work there, but basically anytime an enemy has a debuff skill, Beer does more harm than good. That's why Beer reduced my damage by over 1 million on the guild boss, or on the disaster boss. The problem with that is that not only is the world boss 1, Aluna, not relevant for Beer, the second world boss, which isn't even released yet, Durga also has a passive that prevents Beer from being good. Durga allows you to take 0 damage from normal attacks, so Beer is completely beyond useless. Beer is actively sabotaging your team in both Aluna and Durga. So where the hell do you use him? Well, Beer is the theoretically amazing character that is so niche and so specific that his current use does not actually exist yet in the global server, or the Japanese server, as far as I'm aware. Beer is great for Disaster Boss 3 through 5. We don't have those yet. Once those release, Beer will in theory be great. Till that happens, he's completely worthless. There's no reason to use him, ever. So, in the current state of the game, there's absolutely no reason you would ever want to use Beer, more or less. There could be some extreme niche situation with a very specific team in a single specific fight where he's good. For instance, it's possible there's a Turkey event coming up. Possibly, if that boss is like the very right specific set of circumstances, he could be good. But at present, it's not good. If you're free to play, he is honestly pretty easy to miss. His rate is pretty good. It's not too hard. If you get him at 0 star, that's really all you need for now. Because attack speed you can really boost up by Fallen Angel. His rate is a nice healthy 5% if I recall. Where's Beer? Oh, they inverted how these are sorted, huh? Yeah, he's a nice I picked the wrong one. But yeah, he's 5%. So it's actually it's pretty likely that if you pull 1 or 2 sets of 10 pulls, you're pretty likely to get him. If you're free to play and you're questioning if you want to pull on this banner, I would say if you have Labakongi, there's not much need to pull. If you're missing Labakongi and Strawberry Daifuku, Hot Pot can be very useful to clear debuffs. Beer, potentially useful in the future. He's good to have in the future, but not really otherwise. Both of these banners are pretty missable, other than if you're missing Labakongi, Hot Pot will help you out. If you have Caviar but not Milt, Milt will help you out. Though 0 star Milt and 0 star Caviar are really hard to use. That's what I have, and it's incredibly unimpressive. You'll find that a lot of stuff that whales insist are incredibly great actually kind of suck for like 99.8% of players, because what they mean is like a 4 star Caviar and Milt are great, but then you try to use them and they just kind of suck ass, and that's unfortunate. But yeah, basically, Beer potentially could be great. At the moment, literally no reason to use him at all. Not necessarily pulling him isn't the worst. If you pull him once, you know, keep him. He will eventually be useful for World Boss. We have no idea when the World Boss will come out. The thing is, it's been like almost 6 months at this point now, and we still only have World Boss 1. In China, in the Chinese server, they have 5 different world bosses. We have no idea when the other ones will come out, and like I said, that's the problem with spoilers, is that the timetable for the global server does not necessarily follow the other one. And that's something to keep in mind. Just because it happened in the other servers doesn't mean it happens in ours. For instance, Hot Pot has Mercy on her banner in the Japanese server. In the English one, nope, no Mercy on the Hot Pot banner, which I covered before. So my general advice for any food soul, for any banner, for any event, Wait for a video, wait for an update on my guide, or ask in the Discord. Wait for it to actually come out, wait for other people to try it out before you know, invest a ton of embers trying to get a character and assuming they'll be good. Because even if people have said that they're great in the other servers, they might not actually be of use, at least yet, here. And the thing about him not being useful yet, for all we know, they could release, you know, what if it's another like 3 months before they release the even the second world boss? What if it's another 6 months before we get the third world boss where he's relevant? What if in that time a food soul that completely overtakes him is released? You know? Because we don't get things at the same rate as the Chinese server. For example, we got apple pie at the same time as the Chinese server. So we have apple pie quote unquote early relative to everything else. Now, apple pie doesn't obsolete beer by any means. It's completely unrelated. But in theory, beer may never be useful for global server. We don't really know at this point. So that's kind of my first in-depth video on one food soul. Let me know if you want to see more of these. I have a food soul evaluation in my guide covering the relevant food souls. Beer, I actually have to go edit beer right after this video because I said beer is good and he's not. So that's egg on my face. And again, people ask me why I don't like spoilers, why I don't go for them. This is why. So many people told me beer is gonna be great. I went in thinking beer was gonna be great. I did a stream and I was like, oh boy, I'm so excited for the damage beer is gonna do. And I dealt over 1 million less damage. So that was really cool. Anyway, yeah, if you want, let me know which food souls you want evaluations for. I can't show you double scoop. I could talk about double scoop. There's a couple food souls I don't have. Some people, a lot of the food souls are like pretty simple. Beer is just a very specific, very complicated issue. A lot of food souls are a lot more simple than that. I think it could cover a lot of people in a lot less than the 11 minutes I already took on this. But yeah, that's beer. Thanks for watching. If you want to catch my streams, make sure to subscribe and hit that stupid little bell icon because for whatever reason YouTube decides, oh, you're subscribed, but I'm not going to show you any videos because I don't want to. But yeah, I always try to do a stream whenever there's a new event, and I get a lot of info about the game through my Discord. And you join the Discord too if you want info about the game. Honestly, my Discord, go to sirtabdab.com Discord, or there's a link in the description of every video. You can pop in, and a lot of those people play the game more than I do. I'm pretty busy, and honestly, I load into events in a stream, and I'm like, all right, what changed in the game? What am I doing? Who's this? And everybody in the chat is like already figuring things out. But yeah, the chat's a real help. And shout outs to everybody who helps out in the chat. They're it's totally, you know, they've helped a lot in terms of actually helping me make videos on event guides and everything. So if that helps, tap out.